Well, welcome everybody to our podcast. We're just starting out here. We're going to give just a minute or two for people to get signed on here. We're starting out today with our guest Kim Hushbeck. I'm Bobby Ware. I work in tech support here at Gammill.
And I'm Jaden Wiley. I work in sales here at Gammill. And we thank you all for joining tonight and future listeners for this episode of Quilting Business Success.
And with that, I think we'll just go ahead and get started. We have with us Kim Hushbeck. Kim, why don't you tell us where you're located and a little bit about yourself just to start out with.
I live in Los Banos, California, which is the Central Valley of California. We're about an hour north of Fresno.
Okay.
And this is my retirement job.
How long have you been doing long arming?
I bought an Viking 18x8 mega quilter, 1989, I believe it was, to do my own quilting because my quilter was going to be moving to Texas. So I started doing my own quilting. Then when I retired in 2016, my husband decided that he was going to buy me a Gammill because somewhere along the line, I evidently mentioned I wanted to long arm professionally for people. I'm still trying to figure what girlfriend he was talking to at the time because I don't remember telling him that, but we went for it, and we had the conversation that he was cheap and Gammills aren't cheap. He goes, yeah, I know. Go, but they're more expensive than our Harleys or my car. He goes, yeah, I go, but you're cheap. He goes, but this is an investment, so I can spend the money. Oh, I have the tax write-off. Got it. So he went out and bought me my 2016 Gammill. My girlfriend had a quilt shop at that time and rented space from her. And then we both got very busy because she ended up buying a Gammill at the same time. And then you guys stole Carl from us, so that was pretty bad. We were all in a panic. And then I got busy enough. I needed a second machine, but her shop didn't have room for three. So I moved to my own shop. So I have a brick and mortar shop here in Los Banos. And I think it'd been here about a year. And my husband told me I needed another machine. And I'm going, I'm not going to spend that kind of money again. He goes, oh, no, I found us a used one in Idaho. Okay. We left on a Friday night from work. A couple of the gals from the guild came in and kept the shop open during the weekend. We went, test drove it. It was a 2008 Optimum that had been upgraded to a Statler. Had CS7 on it already. I didn't have to go out and buy a computer system. We were back from Idaho, had the machine up and running that Sunday by 1 o'clock.
Wow.
And neither one of them have stopped working since.
So you started out in 2016. You decided to get a Gammill.
Uh-huh.
And now at that point, did you already have your own business at that point?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't even retired yet.
Okay. So did you get it at that time with the purpose of doing a business, starting a business?
Yes. Yeah, because my husband said if I stayed home, the house would be full of books and fabrics and I'd be a bee in 5 days. I laughed and I told him I'd be a bee in 3 days.
Well, I one thing that may be interesting is what made you decide to long arm in 1989, which that was early in your career, much earlier in your life. What was some of your original inspiration to quilt?
Well, one, because my long armor that I was using was going to be moving to Texas. And it's like, we didn't really have anyone close to us where we lived. So it's like, well, I guess I'm going to take it up. I knew how to hand quilt because I grew up back in Indiana. So, as a young girl, we all had to learn hand work because we weren't allowed to sit idle, even though, we might have worked out on the farm. We weren't allowed to have idle hands when we came in to sit down. So we all learned how to quilt, embroider, sew, crochet, knit. So, and I've always liked sewing. So I went, well, might as well give it a shot because I tried doing it on, your home machines, but that's too rough on my neck because I had broken my neck in 1982. So that was too hard for me to, have my neck bent like that. So I bought it off of eBay, my mega quilter, and had to kind of go, hey, honey, I spent some money.
But when you went to the when you got that first Gammill, what was why did you go with Gammill at that point?
We've gone to a lot of quilt shows, and Randy's the one that always would, to keep him nice, go, they're going to have long arms, honey, so you can go test drive long arms. So he would test drive long arms, and he goes, well, we don't want the Viking, because that's not going to hold up to a business standard. It's like, well, that's true. He didn't really like Knolting because he said it had too much of a drag on the wheels. He didn't really appreciate that at all. He really liked the Gammill, and that's one he kept playing with. So, I'd leave him there for a couple hours, and he'd be gabbing away, just stitching away. It's like, okay, keep
So
getting him interested, and he'll get one.
Your husband was doing some stitching, huh?
Oh, yeah. He just says it's a power tool on wheels.
So,
Basically.
yeah, he's right. Well, whenever in 2016 you bought a Gammill, you were nearing retirement, but you didn't have any business established yet.
Nope.
When you bought that long arm, knowing you wanted to use it as a business, how did you know there was enough quilting to be done in your area to uphold that business?
Well, I'm in 2 different guilds, and they're on different sides of the hill where we live. And we have to wait 4 to 5 months before we get our quilts back from the long armors in our area. So it's like, well,
Wow.
that's a while. Yeah, that's a while to wait. I don't want to wait that long, and I'm an impatient person. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, and I had kept it under wraps, but one of the guild members had heard Jeanette and I talking, and they're going, are you getting a long arm? Yeah. And they're going, okay, so I'm going to be your first client. I go, no, I'm going to be my first client. I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to screw up my own quilt. Thank you. And the guild keeps me very busy. The guild over in San Juan in Hollister keeps me very busy. I have, from word of mouth, I've got them coming from out of state. So once my doors opened up, they just kept coming.
Wow.
So, and a lot of our target audience for this podcast is, people who are either looking to start a business or already have. And so I want to dig a bit more into that. When you first started, did you start out like right away having a lot of customers? Was it something you?
Yeah, I started off probably when they heard I was getting a long arm. I had 10 people already lined up before I even had it set up and running.
Wow.
So
And that number just continually grew.
it has continued to grow, and it always cracks me up when they say, well, you're a professional, you know what you're doing. Yeah, right. But if you're involved with your guilds, with the quilt shop, take classes at your local quilt shop, she'll make contacts, and it just goes like wildfire.
So how did you come up with the funds to purchase your first machine? Did you finance it? Did you pay cash for it?
We pay cash.
Okay.
That was the one where that your husband he was the one that told you that you should get a Gammill.
Yes, he was. It's like,
But you're cheap.
You're cheap. I mean, it's like you're cheap. He goes, yeah, I know. I go, the Gammill's more expensive than any of the 3 Harleys we have in the garage. It's more expensive than my car. He goes, yeah, I know. I go, but you're cheap. He goes, yes, but this is an investment and we're going to do it right. Okay. And I didn't say no at all.
Hey,
but it was nice. He had the confidence in me to do it.
Sure. So, whenever you first bought your machine, you weren't retired yet. How much time elapsed before you retired and you were comfortable with your long arm business?
I retired probably 3 months after I got it, but I'd already had it set up in May at the local shop, so I was just working part-time on it. I actually didn't have any problems getting comfortable with it. I like computers, and so for me, the computer was, super easy to learn. It was much easier than with my Viking because that was, hand drawn, and I'm a really crappy artist. So I like having the computer aspect to it. I do much better work. I mean, for those ladies and men that can do hand guided, more power to them. That's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, well, and I find that when in doing these podcasts, we find that most people, there's some that do a lot of crossover, but most people have a preference for one or the other, you know, either the artistic or being able to do the computerized. You talking about when you're doing this pretty much full time now, is that
Yes. Yeah, 5 days a week, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day. And that's both machines running.
is that pretty much every day or
Yes,
7 days a week?
every day.
Wow. So do you just do edge to edge, or do you do any semi-custom or custom too on
All
your?
of the above. I do edge to edge, semi-custom, custom, whatever the client asked me. I had one know if I could do it with 3 threads. It's like, yeah, we'll give it a shot.
Would you say that there's any rough percentage on how much edge to edge you do versus custom? You know,
That's
just
probably 90% edge to edge.
very good.
And how do you charge by the square inch and
Yeah.
how does that work? How do you?
I do 2 cents a square inch for edge to edge. If you add a border, it's 2 1/4. If it's 3 borders, it's 2 1/2. Custom starts depending on how intricate it is. We'll start at 5 cents and go on up from there.
Very good.
And if you had like an average queen size quilt ballpark, what would you say that would go for?
Between 120 and 170.
Okay, okay.
Because our ladies in their queen size are varying in lengths.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've been doing this long arm business, give or take, about 7 years.
Yes.
About how many quilts did you do in your worst year compared to how many quilts you did in your best year?
Well, my first year was the least because it's only half a year. So it's probably about 60, 70. Now I do, 2 to 3 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, well, these babies gotta, they gotta be running or they're not making me money.
That's true. So now with 2 machines, instead of being able to do 300 or 400 quilts a year, you're doing 700 to 800 with 2 machines.
Yeah, I get very busy.
And at your shop, do you sell like supplies like batting?
I have batting hair. I keep 80/20 and bamboo on hand. If they want anything else, then I'll order it in for them. Or a lot of them bring their own. I have probably about 7 ladies that only want bamboo, so I always keep a roll of bamboo. And then I have 80/20. I use Windline because I like the composition of it.
Mhm. Well, in addition to your long arming, do you provide binding or piecing services for your customer base?
I do binding and I do make quilts for clients from the ground up.
Mhm.
I don't hand bind. It's all machine bound because I have crappy eyes, so I can't really see well enough to do hand binding anymore.
What do you charge for that, and how often do you find yourself doing it?
$25 an hour for binding, and I have 5 clients that insist I have to do it for them.
So since you've been growing your business since 2016, what if for the people watching, what would you say would be has been the hardest part of growing your business?
Getting out there and promoting yourself. I mean, it took me a while before I started posting on Facebook and Instagram the work I was doing each week. But that's gotten easier, and you get some very nice compliments. You get people wanting to know where you got your pattern from, on as far as the quilting pattern goes. I've made a lot more contacts with other long armors in our area, So sometimes if one of the other long armors, we're discussing going, I can't seem to get this to work. Since I have the two machines, it's like, come down on Sunday, we'll throw on a community quilt, show me what you're doing, because we can't get it figured out over the phone. Show me what we're doing, and I'll try to, copy it on the other machine, and we'll work it out. So that's, I've got probably about 5 different long armors where we'll get together if we're having issues and jump on the two machines and bat ideas back and forth between each other.
Well, that is amazing, and that really speaks to kind of the community behind long arming and quilting. Great.
Well, we might be in competition, but we don't have to be enemies.
That's
I mean,
right.
I have one client that wanted just all handwork and go, well, I'm not the person that can do that, but here's my girlfriend's card. She's great at it. Give her a call. She's in Merced. It's, 40 miles away. Use her. She's fantastic at it.
And you started out, when you started out in 2016, the social media was already kind of in swing at that point. But did you not get into that too much right at the beginning? Did it take
No.
you? And have you found that the social media and electronic communication with people, has that been one of your biggest reaching people, communicating with people, or what?
It helps, but mainly it's word of mouth from all my other clients.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Word of mouth is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because you associate with people that are like-minded. So
Yeah.
they pass that on to all their quilters and future quilters.
Well, I have people drop quilts off at my mother-in-law's house because she's an hour away over the hill. So my husband picks them up since he works there, brings them to me. I have people that drop them at a couple of the local quilt shops over on the other side of the hill. And, he picks them up and brings them to me. So I have 3 different quilt shops that clients drop off to and let me know they dropped them off. And we figure out a way to get them to me and then get them back to them.
And do you do any, is any of your business or a significant portion of your business with done by shipping or any of that?
Yeah, I ship. I have a couple clients in Nevada, Arizona, Indiana, Georgia. So they're getting out there.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think that those people largely found you through social media, or was that word of mouth?
No, my relatives bribe. They tell their friends, oh, my niece is doing this. Thank you very much. I just get weird phone calls.
A lot of good people in your corner then.
Uh-huh.
Now, Kim, you said that you originally started out with a hand-guided mega quilt, and that you struggled with confidence in the guided portion of it. So now, with you having computerized staplers, is there a specific advantage you found in the technology from now to then that you favor the most or makes the biggest?
Oh yeah, I like CS7 much better. It's easier to work with than 6 was.
Very good. Yeah. In our experience, CS7 is programs should always be an upgrade, not a downgrade.
Yes.
On
No.
that note, can you think of particularly what makes 7 better than 6, would you say?
Just the ease of use with it. It just seems to respond easier than the 6 was doing.
Gotcha. Well, I talk to a lot of people in tech support that they just don't want to change. They're accustomed to using Creative Studio 6 or 5 or even 4, and my impression of it is they just don't want to change.
Oh no, I like that.
Yeah.
One of the great things about CS7 is that all of the icons are very clearly labeled. As in past programs, you have to hover your mouse over it to see what the actual function of that icon is. So that helps you use everything and navigate so much better.
Yes.
So you find it a lot more user-friendly in
Oh,
general.
definitely.
Gotcha.
That is very good for everyone listening. Now, Kim, who would you say was your biggest cheerleader or support?
My husband.
Sounds like it based on your
Yeah.
Yeah, when I people you can tell I think you can tell the depth of people's relationships by how abusive they are in their language in a good way, you know. Me and my wife are just always, you know, picking on each other and everything. And when he said, "But you're cheap," you know, that I said, "Yeah, they got one of those good tell."
Yeah.
Yeah, he just surprised me when he did. It's like, okay. I mean, I was fantastic that he was willing to have that confidence in me and spend the money
Well,
and then build the shop for me here. So that's been fantastic.
the shop and everything.
Very
That's
supportive
awesome.
husband. And we see that
Yes.
with the people we work with. So many husbands want this for their wives, and many of you become extremely successful with it. So that's a great investment.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Kim, and there's a lot of people watching this that a lot of them are at the stage of they're just thinking about starting a business or whether they should start a business. Some of them are already have a business and they're, you know, they're looking for a little bit of feedback from somebody who's, you know, ahead of them in this process. And what I wanted to ask you is, what kind of impact in your life has it been having number one, the money that you can make with quilting, and number two, the control of your own schedule?
The control of my own schedule has been fantastic because, you know, working in medical, you're always pushed by patients and whatnot. So here it's not so bad. It's, I like it when clients come in and they want to get involved with their quilt.
Mhm.
So you get the interaction of, you know, getting their input because 80% of my clients just tell me pick the pattern and go for it. So, you know, that 20% that come in, get involved, will spend the day watching their quilt progress has really been helpful. I think you need to be open to let your clients come in and participate with it. That really helps as far as making them comfortable. They go out and they start bragging to their friends, oh, my quilter let me hang around. You know, normally you just drop it and you go. I was like, yeah, come in, learn about it. Because, you know, so many people think it's just you push a button and that's it. And it's not. So, you know, interact with your clients.
Sure.
That's a great piece of feedback. Getting your customer, the interaction with your customers, not just coming to the door, saying, taking your stuff, okay, goodbye. So
Yes.
that's
That makes it a lot more fulfilling for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then you can find out, you know, sometimes they have a quilt and you don't really know, if you don't really know their personality, you don't know how they want it quilted. Because I tend to use two different thread colors on my quilts. A lot of my clients have started just giving me plain backs because I don't want my quilting to be the star on the front. But if they have a plain back, that's where I want them to see the quilt pattern. So, you know, you fold it back on the bed, it's like a punch. So I have a lot of my clients now that'll come in and they'll start, because I have a 8-foot wall that's full of threads. So they'll start pulling threads and going, what if we do this on the back and we do that?
We uh we had a comment here from Shelly. Shelly says that she completely agreed that CS7 is more user-friendly due to its similarities with being a window-based product.
Mm-hmm.
That she started at the same time as you did, and she couldn't get out of CS6 fast enough to use CS
Yes.
benefit from the pattern catalog and all of those things. So, Shelly, thank you for joining us
a little
tonight.
plug for your
Yeah.
Studio 7.
We wish you continued success. Now, Kim, what is something you wish someone would have told you when you first started quilting as a business?
Do it sooner.
Sure. It's sounds like it's been a very fruitful and enjoyable venture for you. and
Yes.
probably wish you would have got ahead of that.
Yes.
You could have changed your career to this. You think you could have done it sooner, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so you began your journey with Gammill in 2016, and you had bought your first hand-guided machine much, much further before then. What advice would you give to somebody that is looking to buy a long arm or looking to buy a business, start a business in 2023? And do you think that it can still be done?
I think it can still be done. If you're interested, talk to your long armors, see if they'll rent time on the machine so you can make sure that's what you want to do before you make an investment. Because just going to the shows, it's great. You get to drive for 5-10 minutes. But if you can rent time on any long arm that you're looking at and run it, 3 or 4 times to make sure it's really what you want to do, because physically it can get a little tiring because you're on your feet quite a bit. You don't want to burn yourself out. So make sure you do make time for yourself. There's some times where you just need to go, I need to sit down and have a cup of coffee and just let the machines both stop and just regroup. But the main thing is just rent some time on the machines to make sure it's actually really what you want to do. I've had clients that I've rented time on because they think well, I'm going to go out and buy one. It doesn't look that hard. I go, why don't you come here and rent this for the day and do your quilt? I'll show you how to work it. We'll, start off and we'll see what you think after about 2 hours into it. Well, I think I've only had one of my clients has gone out and bought her own. The rest of them says, you know what? We like quilting by checkbook. You don't, you really don't get to sit down. One, you get fascinated watching it stitch, but 2, you're going, oh, I didn't like what I put on it. Good. Now you get to rip it out. It's part of quilting. Sometimes you go, oh, that was a really bad choice.
So if in doing this, you've been doing it for several years now, this business, and just looking at taking a snapshot of your life right now in general, what would you say you enjoy most about this career that you've chosen and where you're at right now?
Seeing the beautiful quilts that come across my frames and the client's face light up when they get them back. And they tell you, that's what I wasn't thinking of doing that, but oh my God, just the excitement they get when you hand it back to them.
That can be pretty magical, can it?
Yeah, it can.
And I wanted to touch on just a couple of things. We talk to people a lot about their knowing how to quilt and everything. And there's a lot of people out there, especially people that are in the beginning stages, that they're trying to decide whether this is what they want to do. But how important do you think it is to have like train, whether you're training yourself, just learning in general? How important do you think it is to engage in some learning with this?
Always. If you can afford to go to the classes, go to them. I mean, even if you only get 1 or 2 new ideas, you're still getting new ideas. But it's the networking with other long armors, the teachers, and that you can get questions answered that you thought might be stupid. But when you ask it, there's other long armors going, hey, yeah, I'm having the same problem. So going to the classes is really important. I just have an issue of never making the time to do it. So I do a lot of video watching.
Yeah. And there's a lot of videos out there. I know also on Gammill.com, there's what's it called? The for
New owner training.
Yes.
The Accelerate program, all kinds of
It
things.
is, and utilize that.
Yeah.
When you first started on the Statlers, did you find that did you have to spend a lot of time doing some learning on there? Did you kind of teach yourself
No, I
or-
took classes at Meisner when I bought my Gammill.
Okay,
So, and stupid me, the first thing I want to do was cross-hatch something. That's the hardest thing to match up. But I got really good at it. But no, I just kept, as long as Meisner would have classes, I would go up there and take a class. I tried to do like every 2 months. And then, they weren't, your model changed. So now I do it on video. Or I get together with some of the other long armors, since we have the 2 machines, and we just sit there and start coming up and doing different patterns, or going, hey, did you guys buy this one? Is it giving you the same fit it's giving me with the way it's digitized out?
Well, it's great that you've utilized your resources in all these different ways.
yeah. And before we start to wrap things up and move on to the next thing, also, in addition to the new owner training, is the Accelerate, which is training for people who are in business.
Yeah,
a
people
little
who
bit
are
more about
looking
that.
to start a long arm business. It's a new program we're offering that walks you through everything from beginning to end, and what you should consider when starting a long arm business, and how to kind of fast track your way to success there.
Yeah,
So-
I just wanted to make a little plug for that. I didn't want to spend a bunch
Yeah.
of time. I just wanted to make sure.
Now, Kim, we have another question here from Douglas, and he asks, with all the work that you do, is there any business software that you find useful or use in your daily operations?
I use QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. And that's for tracking all of your input, output.
Yeah, and my invoices, and my accountant likes it.
Well, very good.
There's a lot of people we've talked to that use QuickBooks, just basic QuickBooks.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to get super fancy.
Well, Kim, we thank you so much for joining us here tonight. You have provided a lot of great insight and a view into your business and how well it has worked for you and has improved your day-to-day life. Before we go, feel free to tell everyone your social media name, where they can find you and look at your work and contact you if they see fit.
Okay, it's Kimmy Stitches, which is KIMEYSSTITCHES at outlook.com. On Facebook, it's Kimmy Stitches also. Same on Instagram. And you're always free to call and ask me questions.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
great.
Don't be intimidated by your machines. Take your classes, enjoy them.
Excellent wisdom. Well, Kim, thank you so much for joining us. It's been enriching to be able to talk to you. And I appreciate you sharing your experience with us.
Thanks for the invite.
Well, you are very welcome. And to everyone watching, we will not be doing an episode of the Quilting Business Success webinar or podcast next week. So make sure to tune in for the previous week whenever we do our first one in 2024. So we hope everyone has happy holidays, and we look forward to visiting with you again in 2 weeks.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Kim.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.